I'm headed out of town and into the nearby forest. Halloween is just around the corner, so it's time to bring in a few eerie and spooky vibes to my medieval survival world. Today, I'm taking a break from the capital city and building in a bit of mischief. I had a few really important blocks that needed to be gathered in order to do this Halloween build, and one of them, I'm just going to use chunk base. I want to find mycelium. In order to do that, I don't want to go flying around my entire world wasting time, so I pulled my seed up on this website and was able to look around until I found an area with a really good island. It turns out my closest mushroom island with mycelium on it is quite a long way away from my base, so I figured I would pack up some boxes and make a big journey of it, collect lots of things while I was out. In the area around this particular island, I could see that there were jungle temples and there were a couple of trail ruins, things that I would really love to explore while I'm in that part of the world. After taking notes on all the locations I wanted to visit, I stopped in and filled up on empty shulker boxes so I would have room to bring all my loot home after the big journey out. Taking journeys out into my world to collect resources or see new things is one of my favorite things to do in Minecraft. The landscape is beautiful and interesting, and it's fun to just get into an area where you're seeing something different. For my idea that I want to build for Halloween, I have this really creaky old house design that I have in my head, and I want it to be overrun by monsters. I have an interesting plan for the monsters and where they might come from, and one of the things that I want in the area with the monsters is the mycelium, a different kind of ground texture for where the monsters live. For this particular exploration journey away from home, the mycelium is the only thing that I'm looking for on the list for this trip, but obviously I'm going to stop by everything, every village, every shipwreck, and specifically the different things that I notated on my map. If I'm going to do a big trip out, I might as well collect everything while I'm at it. I really love when I find armor trims. It seems like a really special kind of treasure now in the world, but my most favorite thing to find are pottery sherds because there's just never enough of them to make really cool pots. If you've never done one of the trail ruins before, I definitely recommend finding one and digging it out. It's actually a really fun little kind of a mini game in the middle of Minecraft. Armed with all of your brushes, ready to find treasures, it's a really good spot to find armor trims and pottery sherds, as well as a lot of other things that you may not need, but the blocks in itself that you actually get, there's a lot of really cool terracotta and other things that's easy to pick up while you're there. Of course, that brings me to the main reason for the trip out. I was able to soar into one of the beautiful islands. I don't think I can get a mushroom cow back on this trip. That is a long distance away. Maybe I can find just a tiny little island closer to home, but let's grab some mycelium. After getting back from my adventure, I had so many shulker boxes full of stuff, and you can see here as I'm flipping through each of them, they're very random, and I love here, right, those sherds and the trims that are so good. Then lots of other very random blocks, but collecting them while you're out and kind of in a gathering mode helps put resources in your storage room so you're ready for big builds when it comes time for it. On the end, of course, all the mycelium. I figured while I was there, I might as well stock up for the future, mushrooms too, so those are ready to go. After sorting out and organizing all of the goodies from my adventure, it's time to pack up for this build. And I have a lot of dark blocks in mind, so I'm thinking about mixing things up with a little bit of a brighter yellow or orange mixed into the darker colors, which I realize is very traditional for Halloween. But in the end, I really like the way that that's going to vibe with what I'm doing because it is, after all, a Halloween-themed build. Now that you're all caught up on what I've been doing so far this week, I'm over here in the forest. You can see about how far from the cathedral I am, and there's this hole in the ground. This is the hole that has inspired my entire Halloween build. It just feels to me like it's too even, and I imagine a big monster crawling out of it. I don't actually want to build a big monster crawling out of it. I want to build a bunch of smaller, more like snaky, wormy monsters that probably use this hole as their house. I guess it would be more like a burrow or nest. Whatever. The monster's nest is going to be in the hole. We may even make extra holes to fit with the theme. But this area around it, we'll put a bunch of things. I already created one of the monsters. It's sort of clicking because I put a sensor on it. Look at it. I don't know what you guys think, but I think it looks cool. And because it has one of the skulk sensors on its head, it gives it a little bit of movement. And if you get close to it, it sort of snaps its mouth closed. And we're going to put a bunch of them in all the kind of greenery and randomness that's going to go around them because it's a little bit of a spooky, swampy type of area with the big snake monster, kind of a basilisk. Is that how you say that? Basilisk? Anyhow, I think it's fun. And I really like the idea of these having taken over a house nearby and taken over the landscape nearby too. After deciding to put this really creepy snake monster so near where my big capital city is, I also feel like that'll create additional story and builds in the future, right? Putting one thing in place, it allows for storytelling because the city is going to need protection, probably towers where the archers can shoot and protect all the villagers from this monster. Allowing the storytelling to help create the build in your world is one of my favorite things to do in Minecraft. I've created a very large shulker monster over in the area, and I probably won't even use all these things to build, but I'm still missing a couple of things. I had to jump below ground because it was time to go to one of the mines and pick up a bunch of cobwebs. Again, it's supposed to be an abandoned village, so I was able to go through and gather resources and spent a little while mining down in the area as well. Not just getting cobwebs, but other things too. You'll never know what you're going to find when you go off the beaten path just a little bit. Sometimes you'll find danger. Sometimes you'll find a whole big bunch of diamonds in a really cool spawner or a really neat new area. There's a lot of things down below that are going to be useful even if I don't need them on this build. That's, again, it's just kind of the strategy I use, okay? I needed to go get cobwebs, so I went and filled my entire pockets with everything that was useful, even if I don't need it now, because you never know when you're going to need it in the future. With the cobwebs checked off the list, I started wandering a little further until I could find skulk sensors. I was able to take out the shrieker really easily and found an entire area full and mined up a bunch. This is what I need to make the hat, head, hair, whatever. The sensor that's going to go on top of the snake, which you just put it with amethyst and you have what you need, which is kind of cool. I don't think I've ever actually used the skulk catalyst, or at least not the way that it's supposed to be used, but I really like the way these things move. There's not a lot of things in Minecraft that give movement, and so it's a good opportunity for a unique block in a build sense. The very last item that I need, well, I guess the last two items on my checklist for putting this build together are coral blocks and all the different coral fans, and I need a large variety of both of them. I'm using the coral fans, the smaller little coral pieces, to put down on the ground and look a little bit like dead bushes that'll be mixed around the areas where these snakes have come out and taken over the area. They die and they turn gray and become a really neat, spooky, well, dead bush type of an item. The blocks themselves also turn gray when they're not in a water source, and I'm going to use them as some of the wall, actual blocks, when we're putting the house together. There are several areas that need attention. You can see the ruined portal over there. That is just not going to fit with the vibe that I'm doing, so I need to take that out. And in addition, I really want this whole area with the rocks to be built up with the snakes ready to go. Again, decorated like they're coming out and taking over the area. And then the house, of course, which will be up where the hole and the shulker boxes are, where I want to put together a dilapidated house, sort of a large traditional mansion style. Then also over here in the water, there's this huge cliff. And I think I'm going to put some really interesting decorations literally in the cliffside. Maybe some more holes for our snakes to come out. I've got a lot of prep work to do to get this area ready for some spooky vibes. The project and its scope have gotten a lot larger than I originally intended. You see, I started working on the cliffside and was just kind of up and down with scaffolding and various things and was having so much fun detailing. I just kept going and made so much progress. Check it out. I added a couple of holes to the side of the wall. This is where, of course, those snake creatures would come out. And then I just added some texturing and greenery and a lot of things to just give the whole cliff edge a little more life. A couple of waterfalls, a lot of lichen, just different things. But the caves themselves aren't done. We need to go in and detail those, the inside of those. I've got a lot of different blocks in my pocket here to pop in and take care of the back of this cave. Right now it's just stone and you can see it curves around, so it has the illusion that maybe the cave goes much further back, but we don't actually need to decorate everything all the way back. I've got a lot of black stone to give us that deep, dark look so that everything just fades into the distance at the back of the cave. I used a lot of coarse dirt on the entrance of the cave, but for deeper in, I'm thinking we will use soul soil and soul sand back here just as a little bit more of a deeper block with some of those brown textures. Mycelium, of course, super important one to add in here and there. I love the way that it just looks a little bit musty, so I'm definitely going to sprinkle it in, but in the main cave, we'll add a lot more of this mycelium. It will be kind of the base block, like the foundation of the cave. I kind of imagine that it's dirt with the sliminess of the snakes kind of over the top of it. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like the byproduct of the snakes moving around and existing in the area. I'm also using black wool and gray wool to sort of transition from the darker black stone forward towards the front of the cave. The last step are details like the cobwebs, lichen to light it up a little bit, hanging roots, dead bushes, things like that. Just like that, our creepy monster cave is done. This neat hole that has textures and interesting things that go towards the back of it. Of course, I have a second one over here that I'm going to do. And then we might come in and add a monster poking its head out. We'll see. It is time we start working on this actual build, which of course is the abandoned house. You can see here I've put a palette together of the blocks I'm planning to use. I may not use a lot of yellow, or I may switch it out and use the orange instead of the yellow. I haven't fully decided yet. But in addition to that, I will have a brown palette. You can see pretty easily. The foundation is going to be black stone with a little mud mixed in. All the blocks that I might need for it are in the shulkers nearby. And then here is that main wall with all of the coral, the dead coral, mixed into a little bit of gravel, a little bit of tuff, and then the deep slate in the stairs for the roof. I've got a few extra blocks that may mix in here and there to give me some interest and variety while I build. And I think it's time we put this thing together. Ready, set, let's bring on the spooky monster Halloween themed build. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a really fun, spooky Halloween season. And if you've made it this far, let me know. Do you guys decorate in Minecraft for holidays? Are you doing a Halloween-themed build at all? And do you like the seasons? Should I do a Christmas theme build coming up here in just a couple of months? Let me know in the comments. Thank you again, and I wish you all the best. Minecraft Day.